Hey friends, so we continue the fruit of the Spirit today, and I'm going to be reading from Galatians chapter 5 verses 22 and on. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such thing there is no law. Interesting that Paul is saying that there is a fruit of the Spirit, a singular fruit. And that singular fruit actually comes in all these forms, right? When we receive the Holy Spirit, there is a fruit of receiving the Holy Spirit, and the fruit is the stuff that we just read, right? Love, joy, patience, kindness, etc., etc., etc. So today we look at another aspect of the fruit of the Spirit. We look at another aspect of the fruit that is starting to be produced in our lives as we receive the Holy Spirit. And the one I want to focus on over the next couple minutes here is the one called joy. The one called joy. So I'm gonna go hop over to Philippians chapter 4 by the same author, right? This is Paul. This is him once again writing to the church. Now, rather than writing to the church in Galatia, he's writing to the church in Philippi, and he is writing this letter from the confines of a prison cell. So Paul is in prison, and he is writing from prison. He is writing the book of Galatians, right? The epistle of Galatians. So the text I want to focus on right now is one that you have seen on t-shirts. You have seen, maybe if you've been to a football game, you've seen big posters, right? You've seen players wear it on their shoes, on their shirts. I mean, it's one of those texts that end up on bumper stickers or end up on, refrigerator magnets. It's one of those texts that end up everywhere, right? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. It's one of those, one of the most quoted scriptures of the entire Bible. That's the truth. Now, what's fascinating is that just as it's one of those scriptures that is quoted over and over and over again, it's also one of those scriptures that is misquoted over and over and over again. You see, I remember growing up, I was a really bad test taker, right? I was horrible at taking exams. So I would go to my math class and I would sit there and, having not really studied, having not really prepared, I would take out my pen or my pencil, my calculator, my exam, and I would pray, God, I need you to go on and fill in the gaps, do what I haven't done, etc., etc., etc. And then as part of my prayer, I would recite the words, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So all of a sudden here he is, right? Manny, a guy who didn't prepare for this exam, believing that because of Jesus, I could somehow, do well in that exam. That is not at all what this text is talking about. This is not talking about you doing the impossible. This is not talking about you all of a sudden, winning the lottery or anything like that. It's not saying that you're going to walk on water. It's not saying anything like that. That's not the idea behind this text. As a matter of fact, this text is intricately connected to the fruit of the Spirit that is called joy, right? If we read it in Philippians chapter 4, we're going to see there that Paul finds himself in prison. He is writing from the confines of a prison, and watch this. In spite of the fact that he is in prison and he is away from his church fellowship, he finds himself joyful and grateful in spite of the circumstances. So watch what happens. Verse 11. Not that I am speaking, watch this, of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation to be content. Paul is saying, I'm in here and I'm writing to you, not because I'm not needing anything, but because I have learned that in any circumstance, I am able to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. And I know that in every circumstance, I have the secret of facing plenty and hunger and abundance and need. So he's saying, I know how to live with contentment and with joy in any circumstance. If I got money, I have joy. If I have, no money in my bank account, if I am in need, it doesn't matter my circumstances. He's saying, I have reached the point, and this is by the power of the Holy Spirit. He had reached the point of being content or being joyful regardless of circumstances. That is the context of, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That is the context. What Paul is saying here is that because of Christ and because of his Holy Spirit, as we pair both texts, because of Christ and the Holy Spirit, now I as a believer am able to be joyful and content regardless of my circumstance, whether I am employed or unemployed, whether I am, just rolling deep in money or I am broke. It doesn't matter. My joy and my contentment is not contingent. It's not dependent on how much money's on my bank account, or if I got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or if I have, a job or a career, or if I'm doing well in school. That's not what determines my joy. My joy is determined. My joy is determined by the fact that I'm with Jesus and that I have his Holy Spirit. That is the word of the Lord today, and I hope it blesses you as well.